all the way in Switzerland, and you're tuning into the Black Hot Fire Radio, and you're listening to Yes Man Say Wagwan, Andrew Robinson, your Jamaican brother there, reaching out to all the massive on the African continent, and you're tuning into the Financial English Show with your host, not other than Joey, from Monday to Friday. Stay tuned. Andrew Robinson, love, respect, and justice for all.
We can't let go. I will try to take control. I'm sure you already know we can make it official. Never be easy, boy. Never be easy, boy. Never play like a toy. Play like a toy. Just wanna enjoy the good times with people. Obligation shit, obligation shit, obligation shit. Friendship and everything. Obligation shit, obligation shit, obligation shit.
I'm stuck to a back, go back, with tempting to be I just wanna see you so I just wanna feel you. I wanna love you till I pass. You're really special to me and I'm very cause I wanna be a nigga.
Obligation shit, obligation shit, obligation shit. Friendship obligation shit, obligation shit, obligation shit. Friendship and the inside. Hold me down, make a right on me, hold me down, make a right on me. You're and me, oh baby, never come back.
Hold me down, make you right for me, hold me down, make you do me to
Yes, Karibuni Sana family. Hope you guys are doing amazing. Good afternoon from the 254, 5 minutes past the top of the hour. Hope you guys are doing amazing this wonderful Wednesday. And of course, welcome to yet another beautiful conversation right here on the media of the 21st century. My name is Joby, in case you're here for the first time. Shout out to everyone who's streaming or rather shall be joining or rather joining through YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Shout out to everyone live with us on TikTok, on Rumble, on the show page, and also on the radio station. And for those who also get to catch the shows on Spotify, listening to the podcast, hope you guys get to enjoy these amazing conversations. Let us know anything you'd love us to change. And of course, we shall be here taking in your requests and complaints. Karibuni sana once again. And of course, welcome to the debate where we shall be taking and focusing our conversation one more time to Kenya and stroke Africa at large. And as we talk about the dictatorships in Africa, and we talk about dictatorship yesterday on the culture show, we were discussing, shout out to Kamlesh, Mr. Blackwood Fire, who are tuned in, John Mosquito, and to everyone who was there. Yesterday, we were talking about how we can see a couple few members of parliament, how they're trying to push a certain agenda of making the president, who's supposed to give a speech this day, that is by 1 p.m. So we shall be checking, of course, as we continue with the show, what he is telling the citizens and what speech he wants to make. We've seen, of course, during the weekend, Museveni did say he does not want to see people participating in a demonstration, which we saw a couple of people got courage to walk out yesterday, and I'm so proud to see that. We debated on that, and I'll not go back to it, but we shall talk about a bit of it as we get to see dozens of people have been arrested. That is during yesterday's demonstration. And regarding literally this demonstration or before the demonstrations in Uganda, Museveni said anyone who tries to do this, they are playing with fire. And there's something we're talking about yesterday, how we can see the reaction right now African presidents are having when it comes to the impact that Kenya is actually pushing or putting on the rest of the African youth. Because you can see countries like Nigeria, that is Bola Tinubu, he has urged, which we shall also talk about, he has urged his citizens to hold on onto the demonstration. He has actually also said that those who are actually pushing for the protest, they are the work of sinister and people capitalizing on the country's economy wars. So we shall be discussing on that. You can clearly see they are threatened. This is the African puppets. They are threatened by the mass movement of the people, the power of the people. Nigeria, from Nigeria to Ghana, to Uganda, to Kenya. All these puppets are super, super scared. So we shall be debating about that. We shall also take a look about India expression regarding Kamala Harris' possibility of being a president. And of course, we know where Kamala Harris comes from. And from this video, it will show you a lot, why people should not be buying this bullshit of her being black. You can see the happiness that people really have from our country, that is India. You'll tell you this is nothing to do with black people, god damn it. But anyway, karibuni sana, those are our top conversation. We shall also discuss about a landslide that happened yesterday in Ethiopia, and I'll be giving my thoughts regarding that. And as we get to continue, you can see a couple of people are still being rescued under that operation. And shout out to our systems for always failing when it comes to the rescuing of our people during emergencies. It is so crazy. But karibuni sana to the conversation of the day. We shall talk about why Moi tactics of dictatorship won't work on today's generation, or Kenya, or Africa at large, where all these puppets who are trying to participate or practice some sort of dictatorship. It's not going to work, especially for Ruto. Wrong timing, because people are really woke. But welcome once again. That was Tanasha Donna with Complicationships, and of course there's a jam that was released a couple 2-3 years ago featuring Bad Boy Teams, and I hope you guys did get to enjoy that. She had taken a musical break for quite a time, and right now she's back and she has a new banger. And of course we're getting back to the music with this one. It's called Okay, and I love it. You can dim my shine. Come on.
Fresh is on the beat. Case closed. I'm sober now. Leave me alone. I'm over you. I'm trying to be safe. No more. Be safe. You cannot in my life. You cannot kill this soul. You can never take what's mine. What's mine.
Shout out to Self-Sufficient. Hello to you too. Welcome to the Blackout Fire Network. Where are you listening to us from? Yes, we're coming back with the quote of the day. Share something positive that you have there with you.
Something for you. Sick of time, boy. Stop what you do. Bye to me and you. You see me out of blue moon. You cannot kill my vibe. Trying to let me know if I'm sick what you do.
Yes, that is Tanasha Donna with Okay, and I'm loving it. I've seen the challenge there on TikTok. People are vibing to the banger, and of course, we are welcoming her back to the music industry. Personally, I'm a big fan of Tanasha Donna from JJ with not JJ, but was it JJ? No, the one she did with the baby daddy Diamond. I can't remember. It's JJ. It's JJ. Gary, yeah, wanaona Gary, yeah, god damn it, yeah, karibuni sana. I'm a fan of Tanasha Donna. I love her music. I believe she is actually super talented. If she actually puts more attention into her music career, I do believe Aneza flourish. But I've been seeing her. She's been doing amazing as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as a brand, and that is what we love to see. Especially personally for me, I love people who who are focused on their brand and building their brand. It's really, really super, super amazing. I love to see it. I love to see the growth. I love to see the competition in businesses and industries. But anyway, karibuni sana. Once again, I see self-sufficiency is in Eldoret. Karibu sana. Apparently, I can't accept your request unless you want to dive into the conversation, which we shall be talking about why Moi tactics of dictatorship won't work in Kenya. Not just Kenya, but Africa. And this is today's generation, because we can see what Ruto is trying to do actually when we have this peaceful demonstration. He's trying to apply force, which includes police brutality. We've seen dozens of people are being killed, including yesterday. This guy had promised literally no more police brutality. He had promised no more live bullets are going to be used on peaceful protesters. What is it that we saw yesterday in Zimmerman? What is it that we're seeing yesterday in Pipeline? This is lies. Ruto is just a liar all the time, and all the time Ruto is a liar. Anyone who's going to be buying anything that Ruto says from now, and I wonder what sijui ni wapi alienda meeting. We saw it on Sunday. If you guys saw the video, he was somewhere on Sunday trying to tell. That is when he released the statement of saying the country is more important than the people. And where he went to make this speech and people are clapping and listening to him, there is actually an incomplete bridge, a whole incomplete bridge. And there were funds allocated for this kind of literally projects to be finished in every county. But people have to be swept by water every single time there's flooding in the African continent, because we have members or people in politics who fail to do what their responsibility is all about. Personally, I always say, even if it's stealing, still kidogo. A project of literally, let's say you're given 10 million, you go, propose an agenda, propose something that you want to do, or propose a project, and then you're given the funds 10 million. Hata ukiba 1 million na kunaiba 1 million kwa kila project, tutajua na una fulfill kweli? We won't even know. But these people are literally thieves on our very own naked eye, and they want to speak boldly with balls which they don't have, as if they're doing it's like they're doing us any favor by being there. You're doing yourself a favor of actually creating nepotism, because that is how we've seen the system of Africa working. Nepotism is very, very active in Africa. Even in many businesses, leave alone even politics. And this is what I was saying why many black businesses fail, because of selfishness. Nepotism is very active in Africa. There's favorism, there's corruption, there's bribing. If you can't actually just go according to how the system wants you to go, no, you do not suit for certain positions. Where enda ukwe hustler? Wendo hustler for real? Ruto is no hustler. You are the hustler as a citizen. It's crazy, but we shall be getting onto that as you get to check why Moi tactics of dictatorship won't work in Africa today and today's generation in Kenya and Africa. Because whatever Kenya is actually doing, and shout out to my people again, I'm very proud. We can see the impact it's actually creating in the African continent. We witnessed yesterday Ugandans gathered, a few of them had courage to come out, which is what we want to start with. And of course, dozens of them have been arrested. It was highly expected because remember, before them hitting the streets, Museveni had said during the weekend, they are busy creating wealth, so they do not need any distractions. And if you try look at Uganda, there's no wealth there. There's nothing but poverty. There's nothing but cry of the people. There's nothing but dictatorship. There's nothing but nepotism. Shout out to Maria for educating us yesterday. Actually, the wife to Museveni, who is the first lady, of course, of the country currently, is also a minister of education. Tell me that is nothing to do with nepotism. The son is the captain of the military, and much more on. If you try check, literally, it is all extended families getting opportunities in politics. We can't continue. We can't allow this to happen. To just make sarcasm out of it. You guys, if you can remember, we saw there's this video of this lady is going viral. mwenye alipigwa picha na ng'ombe with a cow after graduating. She took a picture with a cow to showcase how parents have to sell their cows to enable students to go to school. And if you try look at today in Africa, we have scarcity literally of, there is rare, unless just in the Maasai community ndo wamebakisha, there is rare cattle, there is rare chickens, there is rare goats, there is rare herds literally in general. Because of the hardships, this dictatorship, and due to selfishness and nepotism, they have created. But I see self-sufficient says, I would like to add on the topic. Yeah, sure. Request, you can join. Karibu sana. Now you can request. If you have something to say, Karibu sana on the conversation. I'll be really, really glad to have you on the debate. Or rather, you can come on YouTube. Pia ndo usikike na kila mtu kwa sababu TikTok will not be really audible. You can search on YouTube, Black Hot Fire Network. Tuko live hapo. I'll share the link immediately. Then you can join through StreamYard where you can be audible to everyone. But you can also join through TikTok if you're comfortable with that. Whatever you're comfortable with, feel free to join the conversation. But going back to Uganda, they're saying dozens of people have been detained in Uganda capital Kampala after joining scattered anti-corruption protests in defiance of an official ban. And once again, I want to give, of course, gratitude back to the Black Hot Fire hosts in Uganda who are also educating us about a couple of things yesterday on the Black Kings frequency. And we learned that actually majority of the people in Uganda, why these demonstrations was not successful or was not able to capture majority of the people's attention. Number one is the fear, of course, that has been impacted by Museveni, which is what he's trying to push and what he's trying to make these other African puppets to do, which is what we can see. They're picking, saying that Museveni kama amesema hivi, who are we not to say this? You know? So let me know if you are on YouTube self-sufficient. Let me share the link. To whoever would love to join the debate, feel free. Let me share the link right here so that you can be able to join the conversation if you have something to say. So understanding that what took place yesterday in Uganda, majority of the people do not come out the same way we saw Kenyans arranging this online, moving tribelessly, partylessly, oppositionlessly. That is what I mean. Moving as one people. Instead, Ugandans went wearing the red t-shirts, which represent the other party which belongs to the opposition, and that is Bobby Wine. So that is the number one, of course, reasons why yesterday's demonstration did fail in Uganda. But I don't want to actually be so hard on them like we discussed yesterday. We said it's going to take time for these people, of course, to, get used to the movement, because also for Kenya, we did not start as much as we were starting. We were not even sure if the turnout was gonna be big as the way we saw. But we have seen literally through the number of the people, through the courage that you can put on each other, it is possible. It is not an impossible mission. We can actually be able to take these officials down who have been selected to rule with brutality. We can be able to take them down. Shout out to you, Diego, karibu sana. But they're also adding that lawyers said around 60 people, including a prominent TV presenter, 3 young protest leaders were hurriedly brought before the courts and remanded in custody following a march on the country's parliament on Tuesday. President Yoweri Museveni, who has ruled Uganda for almost 4 decades, had warned before the event that protesters were playing with fire. So this is actually, again, where we can see them openly trying to say, because what do you mean I'm playing with fire? I'm demanding my rights. I'm fighting for my rights. What do you mean I'm playing with fire? That is a threat. And it's a threat to the point where we're going to start seeing probably mass abductions in Uganda. Probably you're going to see people being found on dams or dumping sites like we've seen in Kenya. You'll see people disappearing. I believe that is what he's trying to say and warning people that they are playing with fire. Remember, it is in the same country when we were asking yesterday about journalists, and we witnessed the same also with the neighboring country, Rwanda. They do not allow freedom of expression. They do not allow journalists to even be able to film the activities which are anti-government to be filmed or to be shown to the rest of the world. I don't know, man, but Africa, it is, as much as we see in revolution, we have so many countries to save. And I do believe the next peak that can be able to serve the rest of the African countries is Nigeria. If Nigeria, that population, gets to move the same way we are moving, then that's it. I believe we can save Congo, we can save Rwanda, we can save Ugandans, we can save Equatorial Guineas. Because remember, also, these people have been under a dictatorship for quite a long time. So I do believe we can save a whole lot of people, a whole lot of group of African people, if only this attention again can be driven, or if it's captured by the biggest population of Africa, which is Nigeria. But the also same president, the march was organized on social media amid the anger over long-running allegations of corruptions involving several high-profile public officials. The protests were partly inspired by demonstrations last month in neighboring Kenya, which forced President William Ruto to drop a planned tax rise. Police previously announced that they had refused to give permission for the march and would not allow any demonstrations that threatened Uganda's peace and security. There's no peace there. There's dictatorship. That is the peace they're talking about. That is why people are silent. Security is because the country is ruled by an army, a military, I mean. So it is crazy. It is crazy. But they also added on Tuesday, riot officers were seen manning roadblocks while members of the security forces sealed roads, and stood guard around the parliament building. Pictures showed marchers holding signs that read "Stop Corruptions" and calling the parliament of a den of thieves. Excuse me. And another one said, "We are peaceful." So it is actually very amazing to see what Kenya is doing, and how African countries are being motivated to also stand up, call out on bad leadership and all that. Of course, it's going to take time before Ugandans gaining courage and all that. We're going to see what is it that is going to happen, because the kind of arrangement, and this is why we shout to Maria for saying that they need to have an arrangement on how they can do this. And Shmani also added on that. You need to have a proper planning on how you want to go to the streets, because that is what Kenya did. And this is why we have every Tuesday and Thursday people coming to the streets on a specific place, because there is an organized theme about it. If I'm using the right term, theme about it, okay? There is a dress code that you're supposed to go. You're not supposed to be wearing any other opposition's T-shirts. And that is the failure we've seen Ugandans doing. You're wearing red, which is Bobby Wine presenting. No one here was presenting Raila Odinga. So nobody wore orange T-shirts to go saying that we are here because Raila has been fighting for us. So it's going to take time, I agree, for Ugandans to be able to pick up the courage. Of course, they need more incitement. And I believe, again, this is going to be very possible if the largest populated country in Africa also puts it in action. Despite the president talking, and I'm talking about Nigeria, which we're getting into as our next conversation, if this country manages, because we've been discussing about how Nigeria is the main center. It was set up as a company. This country was not set up as a country. It was set up as a company, and it's a company. If you try look at from the bleaching, it started from Nigeria. The bleaching, for it to be able to circulate and this business to pick up quick in the rest of the African countries, Nollywood was promoting this a lot. Majority of the agendas they try start or push in Africa, they start from the largest populated country. So once actually this country, shout out to Keith for teaching me that, once this country accepts any deal from the white people, the rest of them, hakuna kusema no. you're going to have to abide, you're going to have to go through with it. But still, the leaders can call the shots. That is one thing we understand. The leaders have the shots. They can call the shots, but they fail to because they are installed there for a purpose, and that is stealing the wealth of African people and the African continent itself. But as we get to Nigeria, moving away from Uganda, and shout out to them, we're going to see if we're going to have any lawyers who are going to stand for the 60 Ugandans who have been arrested yesterday, including a journalist, or are we going to be seeing now they're missing the same thing that we're experiencing right now in the 254. We still have a couple of people who are missing from the protests that have been happening. We have a couple of people who have been found dead, including students, and which I do agree. Of course, when revolution is happening, there's going to be loss of life. There's going to be shedding of blood. There's going to be a lot of damages that's going to be done. But again, Ugandans, for you to be into the rest of the African countries, don't just go to the streets because you see Kenyans are doing it. We have a protocol we are using. Okay? If you're going to be listening to this, share with your friends. If you're going to be arranging this, you guys, listen. We have a protocol we're using. You have to move tribalistly, no oppositions. Stand up as a people and understand that you are all facing the same consequences as people. Nothing to do with Kikuyus, nothing to do with the Luos, nothing to do with Ugandans. This is an African problem. And this is why we are so proud. And those who are amongst the woke ones who understand why we are on this battle, they have been on the comments saying that we need to stand up for the rest of the African countries. We need to stand up for Congo. We need to stand up for Rwanda. If you think what just happened in Rwanda recently with that election is okay, then you're not ready for this war. If you think just this dictator sitting on this seat for over 4 decades, it's something that we should be comfortable with, then I don't think Africa we're ready for a war. So as the revolution actually gets to peak, as we see the rising of the awakening of the people, African people, calling out on bad leadership, as it happens, let us hold each other's hands as a country and understand that what we're facing, it is all the same. Let us back each other up. Let us flock them. Let us shame them, call them out. Because that is what they're scared of. Like what we saw yesterday. They couldn't shoot at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, but as much as I'm not sure if people really did manage to get in. But anyway, shout out to Jiba Jaba, karibu sana, hope you're doing amazing. Shout out to Gerald on TikTok, shout out to DJ Push, shout out to the Deputy Governor, hope you are doing amazing, and welcome to today's conversation. Moving on again, of course, it's about Nigeria. Under the same conversation, yesterday evening we saw Tinubu coming out and urging Nigerians to give him more time so that he can be able to actually, fulfill what he had promised Nigerians. But despite all that, of course, I've seen a couple of things going online, and Nigerians have said that they don't want to listen. Remember that he had increased a minimal wage on Nigerians. I think that is the civil workers, if I'm not wrong. But still, that is not enough because remember, Nigerians are calling out, and that is the first thing that Tinubu did when he came into presidency, subsidizing the oil. And personally, I did speak about the issue of subsidizing things doesn't work. We can't keep on subsidizing bullshit with 1 shilling or some few cents, and that should be considered as something beneficial to the people. While we have Arabic countries who are stealing oil for free and they are charging close to nothing. There's a video I was watching, I think it was from either Dubai or Qatar. These people are a whole full tank of I don't know which car. It was a good car. It is around $2, a whole full tank. While in Nigeria, people are paying over, like, I don't know how much they're paying. Let me see what's the cost of oil in Nigeria right now. What's the cost of fuel in Nigeria today? So the price is, I don't know if this is in euros or in dollars. Okay, so each state has, of course, different prices, but it's quite high. If this is in their own currency, it looks like it's very high. Let me see. What is the cost of fuel in Nigeria in dollars? Okay, so I said Nigeria. Okay, which I don't trust it. They will of course hide this. They're saying in Nigeria, that is in Lagos, a gallon goes for 38 cents, which I don't trust that. Because why? Okay, how much is one petrol of liter in Nigeria today? Let's see. I want in dollars. But scrap all that. We know that the prices of fuel in Africa are very high. And in the UAE, the prices of oil is very cheap. But these people, where are they getting the fuel? Recently, now let me take you back so you can understand what I'm really talking about. And this is why we want to understand the kind of bullshit all these puppets are doing and why they need to be they need to get out. Let me look for this. It was just recently we saw the UAE lifted a visa ban on Nigerians. That is after 2 years, I think, of banning Nigerians from the UAE. But all of a sudden, the UAE has lifted the ban on Nigerians. Now they can come, they can go to whatever country they want in the UAE. But the question is, what is the benefit? What benefit comes in here to both countries? Because you're not doing this just because we know how racist, how these people are to our own people. We've seen how they torture our people, how they treat our women, the men themselves, to be specific, the women. We've seen the racism in these people. We've seen the torture in these people. So what will make you think that right now they want to be friendly with Nigerians? If it's not something beneficial, why would I want to be friends with you? While this is actually a business-created state. This is a business-created world. Why would I want to be friends with you? So let me look at this very quickly as I get to read to you guys. UAE lifts visa ban to Nigerians. Okay, let me see. The UAE lifts visa ban on Nigerians. Okay. So this was actually like 2 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong, or a week ago. This was on 17th of this month, 17th of this month. So they did say that the United Arab Emirates has lifted a 21-month-long visa ban on Nigerians. The Nigerian Information Minister Mohammed Idris said that was on Monday by then that the UAE's decision to lift the ban has been in place since October 2022 Let me read that again. Nigeria's Information Minister Mohammed Idris said on Monday that the UAE's decision to lift the ban that has been in place since October 2022 came after mutual beneficial negotiation, underline that, between both governments. So what is this mutual beneficial negotiation? He referred to updated controls and conditions that prospective Nigerian visitors to the UAE must abide by. Instead, travelers will be required to submit documents proving their identity and showing travel history, among other things, to generate a verification number that would then be used to apply for a visa. An exception is granted for applicants. An exception is granted for applicants 13 years or younger, according to a website of the Emirati government. The UAE's ban was premised on a number of factors, including allegations of improper conduct and attempts to circumvent visa rules, and the row escalated when the Nigerian government cut back Emirates Airlines flights to Nigeria from 21 times a week to just once. It was supposedly in relation for UAE's refusal to allow Nigerian airline Air Peace fly thrice a week to Dubai, approving only 1 week flight. So you can see the kind of effect that came in from both countries. But right now the relationship is back. It's mutual. But what is the benefit? Let's continue. They're saying that the Emirates suspended its flight operation to Nigeria late 2022, blaming an inability to repatriate tens of millions of dollars earnings away from the country. But on taking office in May 2023, Nigeria President Bola Tinubu began meeting with authorities, including Emirates President Mohammed bin Zayed, to resolve the impasse. And the lifting of the ban this week was preceded by Emirates' announcement in May that it will resume daily flights between Lagos and Dubai later this year in October. The Lagos-Dubai services has traditionally been popular with customers in Nigeria, and this is just so crazy. So we don't have really full details of what is the benefit between these two countries. Number one, I believe this is something to do with oil. This is not even, as much as Nigerians here did break the laws and all that, excuse me, those who are visiting the country, because we know the UAE is very strict, especially when it comes to dressing code, alcohol, which I think it was Qatar or Dubai did actually return the alcohol back in the country after I don't know how many years of banning alcohol in the country. But there is some certain things you can't do in these Arabic countries. And we know. I feel for our people who fail to understand the kind of enmity we have with them, thinking they are our friends. I fail to understand the people who do not see the consequences of going to these countries and how effective it is to you, especially as a black person. But the question right here is about Nigeria. So we saw a visa ban being lifted 17th of this month for a mutual beneficial negotiation. This came after mutual beneficial negotiation. Trust me, it's not just all about the flights. It's more than the flights. This is deeper than the flights. So let us look at how much the UAE pays for petrol. Like literally, how much is fuel in Dubai? How much is fuel in Dubai in dollars? So, okay. So they're saying that Super 98 petrol price in UAE today per liter is $2. That is two AED. I'm trying to see in dollars. But it's very cheap, and I think we've checked that a couple of times right here with Keith. Yeah, so yeah, that is 81 cents. Then we have the special 95, which is 78 cents. We have the E plus 91, which is 76 cents. Then we have diesel, which is 98 cents. In Kenya, fuel is very expensive in most of the African countries. But we have people who are getting this for free. And if you dare not to abide by their rules, they cut ties with you. But you're the one actually producing. You're the one producing, and you benefit the least from this production. But they cut ties with you. We really have dumb African men calling themselves presidents. No cap. I'm the one producing. The only thing I like is a refinery, oil, which of course we've seen Dangote and the rest claiming that they're going to build that. We're going to see, is it going to be beneficial to the country or to other people as well? And will Nigerians stop talking about subsidies of oil, or is it going to continue happening? Them hitting the streets because oil is very expensive. Fuel is expensive. It is super, super crazy. But back to the demonstration. So yesterday, Nigerian's President Bola Tinubu did urge the young people not to join the national-wide cost of living protest planned for next week, saying that they are for the work of sinister people capitalizing on the country's economic woes. The organizers are said to have drawn inspiration from the events happening in Kenya, and the protests in the East African nation are now calling on the President William Ruto to resign after winning the key demands, including the scrapping of the planned tax increase and the dismissal of almost the entire cabinet secretaries. The Nigeria's last mass demonstration was 3 years ago against a revealed police unit accused of extrajudicial killings. Remember, that was End SARS. And of course, they're saying that the hashtag End SARS movement achieved its aim of disabling the force, but was met with a violent crackdown in which dozens of protesters were killed. As demonstrations planned for 1st August, because do you remember, they were to start from 1st August to, I think, 8th of August, if I'm not wrong, according to how I saw their planning. So I feel like for Nigeria, it will be successful because number one, they planned this like a month prior before them hitting the streets. So I do believe actually for Nigeria it's going to be successful. They planned a month prior before hitting the streets, which is supposed to start, of course, this coming month. And they have, of course, everything aligned on the agenda. What is their agenda? No more subsidies of oil. I wish I can get the article, but yeah, no more subsidies of oil, better schools, better roads, end of corruption, withdrawal of a few officials, or if possible, all of the officials in the system because they're all corrupt, job employment, and a whole lot. Literally, that country needs nothing but just being saved. You know, it needs to be saved. It needs to be saved. But they're saying that demonstrations planned for the 1st of August in Nigeria draw near, President Tinubu has urged organizers to drop their plans. And he says, capitalizing on the economic hardship in the country, some men and women with sinister motives have been reported to have been mobilizing citizens, particularly youths, to stage a protest. And the speech was delivered on the president's behalf to a gathering of traditional leaders on Monday by the secretary of the government, who goes by the name George Akume, referring to India, which has been hit by religious clashes, and Sudan, which has been destroyed by a civil war. He added, it's not a civil war. He added, let's learn from India and Sudan experiences. We are a country more than 200 million people. Therefore, we can't afford to have this kind of situation. The trade union bosses are urging Mr. Tinubu to sit down with the protest organizers and not dismiss their concerns as sponsored political dissent. And I also asked that a situation where most Nigerian families are forced to eat one miserable meal a day and eat from a dustbin beckons from serious interventions by the government. Mr. Tinubu comes as accused supporters to defeat presidential candidate Peter Obi protest, and the glancing support on social media with hashtags such as Tinubu must go and end bad governance in Nigeria. Obi should be held responsible for anarchy. That is what the president's advisor said. And Mr. Tinubu's Labour Party has issued statement denying this, calling the allegations a figment of the author's imaginations and branding the movement puerile. So it's the same thing which we've been seeing in Kenya. The same way we saw Ruto accusing, of course, he thought, number one, it was the opposition leader, of course, which wasn't. He thought it was the Illuminati. He thought it was the Ford Foundation. He thought he's been abducting people, multiple of people, asking who is the organizer of this demonstration. And the clear image is Africans are getting tired. And they're getting tired by, number one, seeing the fact that if Kenyans could do it, why can't we do it? This is a country of 54 million people. We are a country of 200 million people. Trust me, if I'll be so happy to see Nigeria demonstrations being successful and them coming out in masses. I'm gonna be so happy. I'm gonna be so happy. Because that's gonna create now the biggest attention, being that this is the most populated country in Africa. It should be more than an end SARS movement. Everyone should be out. Nothing tribal. Put your Egu or whatever outside. Everything. Igbo, whatever, Borana, wherever you come from. Put it all aside. When you meet on the streets, you're one people, same DNA, facing the same problems, under the same leadership of the same people and puppets. So I love the fact that, number one, we have hashtags going on round. You can see this hashtag Tinubu must go. There's hashtag end bad leadership. These are the two hashtags that Nigerians are using currently. And that is super amazing to hear. Tinubu must go and bad governance in Nigeria. Those are the hashtags they are using. So I'm so proud of Africa, where we are actually heading. I'm so proud. As much as I want the kids to go back to school, I'm so proud. I'm so proud. As much as I don't like seeing kids, being told to stay at home because of demonstrations. Come on, I'm so proud of my people. I'm really proud to see the impact that is being put outside there to the rest of the African people. But getting to move on to the next conversation, as you get to the main conversation, is about Ethiopia. Shout out to John Mosquito, Karibu Sana. Hello to you too. I'm doing amazing. How are you doing? Karibu Sana. As we get to move on, is about Ethiopia, where yesterday Ethiopians did experience, or some part of the people living in Ethiopia, some part did experience a landslide. And I'm trying to look at this situation and trying to think about it, just critical thinking, yeah? Why do we keep on having landslides in Africa? And why is it that these people live in these endangered places, knowing that in case of heavy rains, this might happen? And if you try to come think about it, these people don't want to live in these endangered places, knowing that there might be a possibility of a landslide. They don't want to live there, but they are being forced to live there, move to the edge, because their lands are being grabbed away. The situation in Ethiopia and Somalia has been super crazy for the current few years. Literally even the past years, it's been super. The relationship between the two countries is being chaotic. We have observed the same also where we can combine Eritrea, Tigray, because these were once the same people, the same country. It was all combined. But I was just trying to think and understand why we keep on having landslides and why these people cannot be rescued, understanding that we have a leadership, which of course they're not doing their job, but a leadership that should be able to educate people of the dangers of being in such kind of places. Until we have until we get to the point where we're losing 229 people, it is so bad. We need our lands back. So they're saying that the rescue teams have so far retrieved the bodies of 229 people killed in 2 landslides in the southern parts of Ethiopia, and that this is information being given by officials who told the BBC. And the landslides occurred on Sunday evening and Monday morning after heavy rains in a remote mountainous area of the Gopher zone. The local authorities said that the research of survivors was continuing vigorously, but that the death toll could yet increase. Footages show hundreds of the people gathered at the scene and others digging in the dirt in search of the people trapped underneath. In the background, a hillside can be seen, particularly collapsed, and a large patch of the red earth has been exposed. So this is super crazy. Let me try share videos of what is currently going on with the rescue, and where I'm saying I don't believe these people want to be there because
The search for survivors of a mudslide that claimed the lives of at least 229 people in southern
lands are being grabbed in Africa. Lands are being given to these United Arab Emirates. Lands are being taken away by Italy. Lands are being taken away by France. Lands are being taken away by the British system. Lands are being taken away by Belgium. Lands are being taken away by the Turkish. All these people. And this is why we have African people dying. Nobody should be dying because of a landslide in them. We have a lot of land. Why should I be living on the edge? I have a system that's supposed to be working, capable of actually coming to educate me about the end. Maybe I'm not educated enough, but we have a system that should be working. Come and educate me about the dangers of living on such an area. But they won't, because the agenda is actually to depopulate the people in Africa. That is their agenda. This is so sad.
Ethiopia continued on Tuesday. The death toll, which increased significantly from the initial count of 55, included many individuals who attempted to rescue survivors, according to the local authorities. The disaster in Ethiopia's remote Kenjo-Sachagodzi district was triggered by heavy rains. Young children and pregnant women were among the victims, with at least 5 people being rescued alive, said Damawi Ayele, a local administrator. Abiy Ahmed, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, shared his heartfelt condolences for the devastating loss on Facebook and declared the activation of the Federal Disaster Prevention Task Force to assist in the search and rescue efforts. The exact number of people still missing.
We don't want expression of condolences and all that. The damage is already done. What we need is these people, actually, the rest of the remaining people in this area, that is the southern province of Ethiopia, all these people should be evacuated from this area. That is what you do. That is how you should make it. You should make things work. That is how the system should be working. Anytime we have a landslide, even if those people didn't know, or the area was not really endangered, there was not literally any possibility of seeing the dangers coming, we should have a rescue team ready in case of this kind of crisis. But people are the ones to actually still retrieve the bodies of their family members. No rescue team that is there. And this is because of selfishness of people in Africa who are stealing our lands. Because explain it better. Maybe I don't understand better. Explain it better for those who shall be watching this on a replay too. What leads to these landslides? Why are people living in the edge? Why are people living in situations and areas where you know that if you try look, personally, I can look and tell if it rains here, this is gonna be chaotic. Because these are going back to school. Understand the soil texture. Understanding the soil texture. There's some places you can't just build and live. This is just so crazy. But condolences to the people who have lost their family members. This is literally bad leadership again. Nothing else. This is not a natural calamity anymore. It's becoming way too common in Africa of people just dying because of landslides. 229 people. Your number, Siki Dogo. That is a big number. And I'm certain here we have children. We have a family. Probably this even happened when people were sleeping. The question is, why am I living on the edge? While we have lands being given to Italian companies, for what? 300,000 acres of lands, for what? It is so sad. It is so sad to see the kind of situations we've been kept on purposely, on purpose. It's not by this is a coincidence. There's nothing as this is on purpose. They're doing this on purpose. So crazy. But anyway, as we move to the main conversation of the day, as we get to wind up, is about why Ruto will fail trying to follow the tactics of Moi trying to become a dictatorship, or a dictator, sorry, not a dictator, but a dictatorship, but a dictator. So the article says the countrywide protest, police killings, mass arrests, and calls for the president to stand down. This is Kenya in 2024. And for many, it's evoking memories of another era, the 24-year rule of Daniel Arap Moi, that is the second president of Kenya. However, Kenya is a very different country today with a new constitution, an array of institutional reforms, and a freer media environment. This means that Moi-era strategies are no longer available to or will no longer work for Kenya's current president, William Ruto. During his presidency, which has lasted from 1978 to 2000, Moi ruled with an iron fist. His obsession with control and loyalty, or at least subservience, represented a substantive shift from his predecessor, Jomo Kenyatta, Kenya's first post-independence president. And it might be tempting to think that Moi's 24-year rule and the fact that it took 12 years for Kenyans to publicly demand an end of one-party state during this time reflected a lack of opposition. And that is when we had the Sabasaba movement. Go back to history, which we saw, of course, the celebration of this year's Sabasaba memory or movement was actually something different. People were on the streets, the same thing, but a different agenda. So that is historic, actually. Very historic. It also continues and says, it might be tempting to think that the Moi 24-year rule, the fact that it took 12 years for Kenyans to publicly demand an end of one-party state during this time, reflected a lack of opposition. I am a political scientist who has studied Kenya's democratic transition, that is the writer, for over 20 years. And my research over this period, and particularly for my book, I Say to You, Ethnic Politics and the Kalenjin of Kenya, illustrate that Moi's longevity instead reflects effective strategies of expression of and control. Moi came to power in August 1978 after Kenyatta died, and he promised to follow his predecessor's footsteps under the slogan Nyayo, Swahili for footsteps, and that this rhetoric found immediate demonstrations in the retention of incumbent ministers, but Moi quickly showed his true colors, with Nyayo reprinted as an official dictate to follow the president. Only a year after he came into office on October 1979, on 7th October, the university students demonstrated against the government decisions to bar two prominent politicians from standing for parliamentary seats in the forthcoming election. Oginga Odinga and Achieng Oneko had reputations for criticizing Kenyatta. The year after this, the Nairobi University Students Organization was banned. The University Academy Staff Union and Kenya Civil Servants Union were desegregated. Ethnic associations were directed to wind up their affairs. In 1982, after Odinga announced plans to form a new political party, a constitutional amendment was rushed through parliament. It illegally rendered Kenya at a one-party state. The presidential interference reached new heights following an attempted coup d'etat by rank and file members of the Kenya Air Force on August 1st. Although the coup was quickly quelled, the delayed response of the army and police revealed the dubious loyalty of the respective high commands. Student demonstrators in support of the attempted coup further exposed Moi's insecure position. Subsequently, the president's predilections for personal control morphed into an obsession. He became a hostile to criticisms, dissent, and opposition of any kind. He was increasingly reliant on lieutenants, non-opposition politicians were arrested, and student activism were dismissed, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The suppression of the media was accompanied by an increase in the mass arrests and allegations, detentions, and state torture. And today, as we talk, we have journalists in the streets who are demonstrating on the police brutality, calling out on the police brutality. And of course, you can actually tell the difference from what I'm reading, why Moi's tactics of dictatorship won't work on today's generation of Kenya. Because during then, you can see from this article, we had media houses, we had journalists who did not and couldn't talk. But today, everything is different. It is different. So they're saying that the suppression of the media was accompanied by the increase in the mass arrest, illegal detentions, and state torture. Moi also revived the ruling party, the Kenya African National Union, that is the KANU, and he added it to a growing arsenal of instruments of control. And remember, KANU, that is where we had the current president of Kenya, that is William Ruto. He was on that particular party. And this is why people say that he's actually a student of Moi. This is why we see him trying to apply the same tactics, which are not working. He added it to a growing arsenal instrument of control, and this includes the provisional administrations, intelligence and security forces, and local power brokers. He also developed an increasingly personalized system of patronage driven largely by presidential directives, appointments, and generous donations to Harambee, public fundraiser around the country. Shout out to TikTok. Okay. Shout out to TikTok. He also developed an increasingly personalized system of patronage driven largely by presidential directives, appointments, and generous donations to Harambee, public fundraiser around the country. In 1988, a significant increase in blatant rigging was witnessed during the country's Q voting elections in an important scene. This election marked the beginning of the end of Kenya one-party's state. Rigging added to a popular disillusionment with the Moi order and the removal of prominent politicians such as Charles Rubai and Martin Shikuku, marginalized wealthy and popular elites who later came to help spearhead the pro-reform movement. The public political space was squeezed and monitored as frustrations and grievance with Moi's regime grew. To express their dissent, people turned to music and the pulpit, but even these platforms attracted state reprisals. Because do you remember, that is why I feel like we had now what is his name? I can't remember his name. But yeah, that's when we had people like that who today are very silent. What is his name? I can't remember his name, you guys. If I remember, I'll let you know. But yeah, he's sung so many revolutionary songs. Then we have people like Giuliani. Now we can see in today's generation. We have Sauti Sol, Eric Wainaina. Yeah, Eric Wainaina. So yeah, that is why you can see it's saying that people turned into music and the pulpit. So to call out on, of course, the dictatorship of Moi. And in May 1990, that is after 1988, all throughout, in May 1990, Rubai ex-minister Kenneth Matiba launched a major campaign for the restoration of multi-party democracy. They were detained 2 days before a planned pro-democracy rally on 7th July. The demonstrations went ahead anyway, resulting in the infamous Sabasaba in Swahili. In Sabasaba, in Swahili, Saba is for 7. That is, of course, which I said, you know, I believe like I believe it started even way before. I feel like that is when they did probably official mention it, but I feel like it started before from the article, the way I read the article. But yes, it led to the Sabasaba movement and the demonstration that raged for 3 days in Nairobi and major towns in Central and Nyanza province. In the face of the repression of these popular demands for reform and with the collapse of the Cold War, and wave of democratization in Eastern Europe, donors announced the suspension of 350 million USD of rapidly dispensable aid in November 1991. And weeks later, Moi informed the KANU Delegates Conference that there was no alternative but to confront multi-party competition, and the constitutional amendment was rushed through parliament the week following. A mixture of the state repression and violence, electoral manipulation, and massive state expenditure was then used to ensure that Moi and KANU won the 1992 and 1997 elections. Moi was re-elected with 36 and 40 of the popular vote in 1992 and 1997, respectively, against a divided opposition. And today, Kenya is a different country. Kenya today shows some worrying similarities to this past, from the police shootings and mass arrests to Ruto's efforts to blame outside forces for the mass protest. The country is a very different place. However, for one thing, the constitution adopted in 2010 safeguards the people's right to protest and has provided a more independent judiciary. The youth have focused their eye on wealthy and corrupt political elites and can mobilize and share information much more easily. In the context, many of the old tactics that rely on a particularly reformed security sector are backfiring. Cases of police shooting and abductions have enraged Kenyans, and efforts by the regime to reach out to vocal voices in the protest movements have been rejected. Ruto continues to make important concessions, from shelving the widely unpopular finance bill that sought to introduce new taxes to making changes to his cabinet. However, he will have to think more innovatively about how to address the country's economy troubles and its crisis of legitimacy. If he is to address the protest movement since June 2024, the protests have led to the loss of life and the destruction of poverty, and taking a toll of the economy and recreating a serious crisis of the regime. Kenya has changed, and Ruto will need to recognize this if he is to survive his first term. So yeah, things have really changed, and that is what majority of the people are actually saying. Kenya will never be the same. It will never be the same. Things will never go back the same. People are too woke. MPs are being greeted. They're being beaten. That is what we mean. They're being forced to walk on the mud right now because of, there's no, you're going to be walking on a posh car and I'm walking on mud. You didn't create no roads here. So things have changed. The system is different. But anyway, family, we're wrapping it up right there with the conversation of the day. This has been the Pan-African Bliss Show. Thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in. Jiba Jabba, Joe Mosquito, Mr. Blackout Fire just tuning in, and to all the amazing silent listeners from Twitter, TikTok, and also the show page and Rumble, those who get to catch the show on replay, and Spotify or Spreaker. Have yourselves an amazing day. This has been the Pan-African Bliss, and the conversation for today was why Moi tactics of dictatorship and literally Africa at large, why they won't work on today's generation. We've seen how the demonstrations happened yesterday in Uganda. We're looking forward to see if they have lawyers who are going to represent them, because we have 60 people, including the journalists. We have 2 activists and a couple of people who had the courage and balls to come out to demonstrate. There are 60 of them. So I'm not sure, like we've seen in Kenya, the LSK, that is the law service in Kenya, they did go ahead and stood. I mean, we still have some people inside, but they did manage on the first demonstration to ensure everyone was freed. No one was arrested. No one remained in jail, and they're still trying to do their level best to ensure the rest of the people have been also released, those who are still detained. But anyway, we've also seen in Nigeria, as much as more, we have Tinubu talking his way. 1st of August is very, of course, next week. We're going to see how Nigerians are going to be taking it to the streets. I love the fact that they have organized, unlike the Ugandans, but I say I don't want to be hard on them. Things are going to be picking slowly by slowly. We are on the verge of revolution, but let this happen as the kids go back to school still. Let's not forget that, okay? We need to do this. Africans need to be saved very quickly, especially Congo, Sudan. There are countries which are actually in dire cry of our help. We have countries like Rwanda, which I said, if you think what happened in Rwanda is okay, something must be wrong with you. But anyway, much love. See you guys later on the Tubonge Show and the Africa Today Show. Much love.
Trying to pick up the pieces, no more left to be said.